how do I buy a pre-construction condo? That is a great question, and by the end of this video, you're gonna know what is the process, how do I avoid some of the risks, and how do I get the best price? Hi, I'm Paul Haley, Toronto realtor, investor, educator, and speaker, and today I have a very special guest.
Milan Swanston, owner and founder of CondoSavvy.ca, pre-con specialist.
And the truth is, in real estate, I work with a bunch of professionals, and whenever I have a question about pre-construction, I call Milan.
And when I have a question about freehold development or laneway, I call this guy.
So the first question, the question I get a lot is, what is a platinum agent and why is that important?
That's probably the most important thing to start with. Yeah. And people ask me all the time, what is a platinum agent? You're absolutely right. So a platinum agent is an agent essentially who specializes in pre-construction. There are, like myself, yeah. I've been in the pre-construction industry for 15 years. I used to work directly for the builders and over time built up my own database and started selling and representing the buyer's interests in the pre-construction deal. So that's where it is. Yeah. It's based on relationships that you built with developers, and what that does is allow us to get people into a development at the very beginning, prior to other agents, prior to pre-registrants. The reason you want to get in first is that's when you get the lowest prices, you get the best incentives, and you get the most selection of floor plans. So basically, if you come to me, we'll know, okay, this is coming up. We buy pretty much day one. Now, when it goes either to the next round, which would be maybe a regular agent that might be able to get you in, prices may have gone up $30,000, $40,000, even $50,000. Yeah. So getting in early is key to making money. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell.
Buy low, sell high.
Absolutely. So getting a platinum agent, there are a few of us in the city. And again, that's what's going to get you early access, best prices, and honestly, the best advice to know exactly how to navigate the pre-construction world, which is very different than resale.
So if I could summarize,
that's a long way.
Basically, a platinum agent is someone who's built relationships with all of the builders, so they all know you. And when they're launching a project, they come to you first.
Absolutely.
And you go to your clients first, not only with the best price, but also the best layouts, floor plans, all that kind of stuff.
And the incentives.
And the incentives.
The incentives. We're all about the incentives.
Nice. So, what is like the actual buying process? So when someone, meets with you, what happens? How do they get a condo?
Well, the first thing I want to know, I want to ask, what are your personal goals? People quite often ask me, what is the best project? What's the best location? Kind of depends on you.
Totally.
Are you buying it because you're going to downsize later? Is this strictly an investment? Are you buying an investment that maybe one day you want to give to your kids? Right. I want to know all that. So first we have a bit of a sit down and say, okay, these are my goals. From there, we pick a project. Now, when the project comes out that meets your needs, this is the process.
Okay.
It's not for the faint of heart. It goes fast and furious.
I've been there. I've done it for people.
And furious.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Okay, people say, don't you? It is it's fast. So basically, we may get anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple hours notice that this project's coming out. Yeah. We get to you, we need to get a worksheet, which is basically your request where you tell us these are the top 5 picks on this project.
Yeah. So you get floor plans. And
we
you
get
go
our floor
through
plans,
them.
absolutely.
And then they
the
pick,
price
I
list.
want A, B, C, and F.
Exactly. We try to get people not too committed to one particular floor plan because it is getting allocations is challenging. And so we want to have at least 5 options. Yeah. We go through to the developer and we wait for allocations. Now, in a couple days, you find out this is exactly what you've gotten. Yeah. Once we have your allocation in hand, you're going to sign. Now, all this has gone digital. Yeah. We don't go to sales. Nice. It used to be sales office. Now we're digital. Yeah. You're going to sign. And you have 10 days, which is called your cooling off period. Okay. The 10 days is specifically for you to make sure all your ducks are in a row. Right. Make sure you can get financing, have a lawyer review. Again, at CondoSavvy, we pay for legal reviews. We can put you in touch with, help people get your finances. Right. So that 10 days is to make sure, everything is good. You're ready to go. At the 10 days, they cash your first check, which is usually about $5,000, and we're firm, is what they call it. So you've gone firm, all right? 10 days after you've signed. Yes.
And then, so once you've gone firm, then there's a long period between
Yes.
the firm and moving into your new condo.
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
Absolutely. This is what I love about pre-construction because it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah,
You're going
okay.
to sign some paperwork, you're going to leave some checks, and essentially you go fishing for a few years. So one of the cool things about pre-construction is that the deposits are staggered. So
Okay.
rather than coming up with 20% up front, like you would in resale,
Yeah.
you are looking at generally 5% installments over a period of time. So a
Right.
typical payment plan would be maybe 5% in a month, 5% in maybe 4 or 5 months, maybe 5% at a year.
Right.
Sometimes they give you 2 years to pay. But basically, it's almost like a enforced savings process. So you pay that off.
So you just have to make sure the money's in the
You
account.
have to make sure the money's
That's
in the
good.
account
Cash
on
for
the
check.
days. Make sure you put a reminder in for yourself. But yeah, we usually give you usually about a year to a year and a half that you get to pay. Lately, they've been giving us extraordinary deposit structures, actually really, really good ones. But yeah, basically that's what you do. You don't do anything else. The next time you have something to do will be color selection.
Right. Oh, that's fun.
Color selection. One of the things I like about pre-construction is the closest you get to a custom home. So you're going to go in there. We like to go in with our clients to make sure that they're making the right choices.
Because you're thinking about resale as
We're
well.
thinking about resale. We're also thinking about what upgrades are actually going to make money in the end. Most things we
Right.
try to keep those costs as small as possible.
Makes sense.
Some things are worth paying for, so we
Yeah.
like to be there to help guide them through.
Great. Yeah.
You're going to go there. You're going to pick your cabinets and your floors and your door handles and all that good
Backsplash and your
stuff.
tile.
Your backsplashes, all that good stuff. It's actually one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
And then you sit tight for another little while. That happens usually about a year before closing.
Okay.
Next thing will be your PDI, which is your pre-delivery inspection. Now, pre-delivery inspection is your walkthrough right before your interim occupancy.
Right.
And you're going to walk through to make sure everything is what it was supposed to be. The colors are right, that there's no gouges in the walls, that, it's basically, there's no scratches. And we
Right.
kind of go through again. We usually go with our
And
clients.
you go with your client because it's a complicated
Absolutely.
process.
It's not complicated, but
Right.
an extra set of eyes is always a good thing.
yeah.
We want to make sure, again, we haven't touched it yet, so we want to make sure it's pristine and exactly what you ordered.
Nice.
Shortly after that, you have interim occupancy, which
What does that
means-
mean? People often ask me about that.
Yes, that is actually a really good point. There's
Yeah.
2 closings in pre-construction. So, first is interim occupancy.
Yeah.
It's when you get your keys. And you're going to start paying interim occupancy fees,
Okay.
or they call them a kind of shadow rent. Or
it's
you're
like rent,
You
yeah.
basically rent from the builder. What you're doing, you're paying, and that's made up of your maintenance fees,
Yeah.
estimated taxes, the interest portion of your mortgage,
Okay.
just to make that simple.
Yeah.
But at that point, you are usually, as an investor, going to try and find a renter to get in there.
Right. So you can rent it at that point. So
We
that's
will
great.
always make sure up front we have to get you permission to rent. If
Got it.
one of those other little loopholes you want to make sure that's taken care of, you need permission to rent at occupancy.
Yeah.
It's why you have a platinum agent. Again, we know, to make sure we know exactly what we're doing. And again, we found the right project for you. But
Yeah.
at any rate. Yes, interim occupancy. You want to go in there. We're going to try and find you a renter right away. And you essentially still don't own the unit until final
that's
closing.
interesting.
Final closing is when title is transferred from the builder
Yeah.
to the end user or to the new owner.
Right.
This is when your mortgage kicks in. So basically, you've been made this investment probably 4 or even 5 years ago.
I totally forgot about it.
Totally
what?
forgot.
I got a condo?
The market's generally appreciated significantly, and now
Yeah.
you're getting a mortgage, and you look like a genius because it's so much more. It's such a good deal relative to what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's true.
Even though, again, it may not have been all that cheap when you first bought it. It just
Right.
time has a way of doing that.
And is the mortgage value on the new value or the price you paid?
It's on the price you paid.
Okay.
So you're going to get a mortgage on the price you paid. Now, there's all kinds of other things you can do where you can, try and remortgage and take the equity out, but that's for another day. But
Right.
simply, you're going to finally close it. Title goes from the developer to the
you.
new owner, and you're the proud new owner of a new condo.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that happen on close. Well, you have some options.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing that happens is there's going to be more costs and with a traditional real estate, right?
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot more cost of closing pre-construction, and that is
Boo.
that is very much thanks to the city and the province
Thank
wants to
you,
get their
city and
fingers.
province.
Yes, thanks, guys. There are increasing. There's always developmental levies, education levies. Again, there's something you want to make sure when you're buying that's capped, so you have no
Right.
surprises. And you
So
know,
that's what you do. You read through the or your lawyer
absolutely.
reads
The
through
lawyer will
contract.
make sure we go through them and cap them in case they introduce new things that we know that we have been capped at a certain point. In other words, the developer would be responsible for any new costs, not the buyer, so you can actually plan your budget.
Makes sense.
That's one thing. HST is another thing. If you're going to live there,
Yeah.
HST
No
is
HST,
included.
Yeah.
If you're not going to live there, you're going to be paying some of the HST.
So
but
13%.
not the full 13%.
Okay.
It's usually around $24,000, which is the rebate. You have to pay that rebate back.
Okay.
And but we can get you all or most of that money back within a few
Right.
weeks.
Even if you rent it.
Even if you rent it. In fact, only if you rent it.
Okay.
Basically, you need to produce a 1-year lease. So some forms are filled out, and you'll
Got
get
it.
all or most of that money back. But you will have to come up with it at closing.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, another thing we should talk about that can happen on closing is assignments.
Oh, assignments. Assignment is a clause you want to have, and we do not encourage assigning. It
But you want to make sure you have it
You want to
in
make sure you
the
have an
contract.
assignment clause. An assignment
Right.
just means you have the ability to sell your interest in that property prior to closing. Because you don't actually own it, you want to have the right
So you
to
can
sell
you can flip
your
the paper,
interest.
basically.
Flip the paper. You don't want to do it as an investor. You will be taxed to no end, in a nutshell.
So it's really an emergency, like
It's an
if
emergency.
you can't get a mortgage, you have to pull the chute.
You have it, you'll make
Yeah.
it, but the taxes are quite significant
Okay.
on an assignment.
And you typically sell for much lower than it would actually be worth.
Not necessarily, actually. If you're in a hot building and you wait until when you want to assign would be in the occupancy period, when people can actually see it, it's real, they
Right.
can move in.
Okay.
That's when it's going to be worth its most.
Yeah.
At the most, it will be worth.
Yeah.
It'll have the most, and you can probably get close to market at that time.
Right.
Basically, by doing this, you're saving yourself all those additional closing costs. You're passing that on, usually, depending on how you negotiate to the buyer.
Got it, okay.
But like I said, the tax situation is significant.
So you could be liable for some HST and
Yes.
capital gains, or they might count it as income.
Yes,
Yeah.
you could be responsible for the HST on the deposit you've paid, any appreciation you've made, and again, they're going to come back and tax you either income or capital gains on the
They're gonna
money.
get
So
ya.
they're going to come back. They're going to
They're
double
coming for
dip.
you.
They're double dipping. So generally speaking, when we run the numbers, it is not worth it. However, you 100% want to make sure that clause is in your agreement because life happens.
Right. And theoretically,
Yeah.
you know, if like, I know condos have appreciated like crazy over the last
Mm-hmm.
few years, but if it depreciated, theoretically you could walk away, right?
You know what? I've never seen that happen, so I'm not going to comment. I have no idea what would happen.
Theoretically, you could walk away.
Theoretically, I'm not
Yeah.
sure what would happen. And so far, we've never had that happen. And again, we've always been able to either find financing or find a new buyer, whatever it happens to be. If you do a low deposit, like a 5% deal, I will say assignment then usually is a little bit more attractive.
Yeah.
If you're doing
Makes
a 20%, less so.
Less attractive.
But yeah, just make sure you're fully informed. In other words, if you're buying on the assumption you're going to assign, let's have a conversation.
Yeah. You want to understand
We want to
that
have a conversation.
fully before
We want to
you
have
do.
a conversation first.
So you talked about deposits. So where does that deposit go? Does the builder get it and stuff it in their pockets?
No, deposits are always held in trust by the builder's lawyer.
Okay.
The reason they collect deposits is because it's how the developer gets their construction financing.
Right, okay.
Against that. So
So they're not going to
basically,
take the money and run.
no, they should. They shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
Basically, again, it's also usually insured by Tarion, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. But yes, it is held in trust. Developers actually don't get paid until the property registers. So they're as interested in completing the project
Right.
as you are.
Maybe more so.
Maybe more so, depending on how it's gone.
Yeah.
But yes, no, definitely they're all on the same page in terms of that. A lot of people think it goes to their pocket, but no, it's held in trust.
Right. Okay. And as a platinum agent, you know, you have access to tons of projects
So much.
across the city. How do you help people decide which ones are right for them?
Well, that's a really good question. One of the things I've kind of prided myself on is trying to find the projects that make sense. Meaning, if I wouldn't buy it, I probably won't put it out to you either. And we're really looking for projects that are going to make the most money, essentially. So something that has really good value relative to resale. We're looking for infrastructure nearby that's maybe not priced in yet. We're looking for developers who have a strong track record. That's huge. 15 years I've not had a canceled project, knock on something. But that's a really, really big deal, knowing if the developer has all their permits together. This is all, we do a lot of homework before we ever bring you a project. And that's really, really, really important. Again, I've been doing this for 15 years. Not all developer/projects are created equal. We really want to make sure it's our job to help you make as much money as possible. I try to take it very personally. And again, the right project for your goals.
Right. And that's exactly how I look at investment properties, actually.
Absolutely.
Even residential development, it's all, what are your goals and making sure you're in the right property that's going to have the right appreciation.
If your family's all in the West End in Mississauga, you might want to be on the west end of the city because that's where you're going to be living. If your kids are going to be going to school somewhere, you might be thinking about buying around U of T. It goes on and on.
So in summary, there are 10 things you need to know. And the first one is call us and we'll help you with the other 9.
Yes.
So I hope you found that hugely helpful. If you like this video, please like it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comment section below. Please smash that subscribe button so you get updated as soon as we post a new video each and every week. Talk soon.